Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 310 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on June 16th, 2026. How are all you wonderful folks doing in this fine summer day? Yeah, I hope everyone across Texas is staying up on high ground. We've been getting unprecedented rain all across the state this year, particularly for the past couple of weeks. So prayers go out to the folks that are still missing from the recent flash floods. Hope folks are found and returned to their families safely. It's pretty wild out there. We have a lot to cover on today's episode. It's an absolutely amazing time to be interested in silencers. We're going to go through the full technical discussion of the AAC Ti-RANT 45, the historic silencer that we examined in last week's 45 ACP report, with the also historic full-size 1911 pistol chambered in 45 ACP. Then after that, we have a brand new test host to share with you with a new silencer. Today, we're going to be ramping up the combustion energy, finally, with 6.5 PRC out of a 20-inch bolt gun. And we're going to be seeing how the new front of rifle systems Predator 6.5 performs. The four systems Predator 6.5. And spoiler alert, you're going to see some really wild stuff. Physics, as it turns out, still holds true. And if you thought it was important to test in the free field before, well, wait until you see the durations on these waveforms. Boy, howdy, you combine short action magnum with a small hole, and you're going to be waiting a while for combustion blowdown to be over. So it's going to be a good physics lesson for a lot of people today, which is really cool. And this is going to be a bridge to our later testing on 300 Win Mag. So, sorry 6.5 Creedmoor guys, but frankly, we find your cartridge obsolete. It's too similar to 308. So to serve the 6.5 silencer community, we went all the way to 6.5 PRC. And don't worry, you full Magnum guys, we will be doing 300 Win Mag, so then we can come back and get the 30 caliber silencers a lot of energy. It's all going to be great. All this and more today on episode 310. All right, let's go on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. So glad to have you. Just so you know, there are timestamps in the episode description to skip wherever you were like. So if you're new, man, you come to the right place. No matter where you're listening, it can be YouTube or Spotify, iTunes, maybe on the website. Every topic has an accompanying timestamp you can click on, and then it'll take you to the subject matter. Okay. If you would like to hang out with me a little longer, I'm going to quickly speak to you about the folks that make this podcast possible every week for the past however many years we've been doing it. It really, we couldn't keep doing this without all these folks. The first one is Legion Athletics, because nothing you do, whether it's exercise, sports, shooting, really nothing's worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time if you want to be good at them. Legion Athletics can help you with that. They have all types of supplements: whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, creatine, vitamins, minerals. They're minerals. Do they have everything you need? Well, no one does, but they do have a lot of it. If you visit legionathletics.com, and there's a link in the show notes, you can use the code word PewScience and save a lot of money. You buy one, get one 50% off your entire shopping cart when you use that code. And if you keep using that code every time you buy, you'll get 20% cash back to use toward supplements there, which can add up because, if you're getting supplements all the time, and you're consistent, you're going to be consistently buying them, which means getting 20% off everything on their website forever with the PewScience code it would behoove you. It would be smart fiscally for you and your family. Also, this podcast is brought to you by the fine folks at Silencer Shop, deep in the heart of Texas here. Silencer Shop has done a lot, not only for consumers in the industry, but a lot of dealers nationwide, large and small. If you're a new dealer looking to get started in the space, maybe you can't hold a lot of inventory, maybe you want to maintain low overhead, maybe you want to use the legendary kiosk to do your fingerprints and photos electronically, Silencer Shop might just be able to help you out. They cut down errors, simplify your silencer purchasing process, money back guarantee. It's pretty good, man. You don't pay any transfer fees either, which is huge for a lot of folks. So it's just you and your silencer with no drama. Truly a silencer ownership simplified. Also, speaking of Silencer Shop, did you know there's a Silencer Shop dealer out of Houston that is very large and very smart and very cool? And they are called Top Gun Range. If you're in the Houston area, or maybe you're just passing through on a business trip, that could be boring. So why not go visit Kyle and his crew down at Top Gun Range Houston and check out the 15-lane indoor shooting range they have with the largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas. That's right. You can rent all kinds of stuff: pistols, rifles, shotguns, silencers, machine guns. Go wild. Bring your coworkers. Introduce them to suppressed small arms. You'll love it. They'll love it. You'll probably get promoted at your job. You'll be rich because of them. Check them out at Top Gun Range. Also, did you know that Texas is the home of all kinds of different dealers? Another dealer that you may patronize would be Capital Armory. They're pretty cool. We've known them for a long time. One special thing about Capital Armory that a lot of people don't understand is that they're kind of NFA junkies, like purists. When they're kind of, I'd say they're biased because they kind of are. They're kind of biased toward high performance, and the folks that work there kind of will steer you toward very high performing things. That's one of the reasons they support our lab at Pew Science. It's because we're quantifying things that agree with their real enthusiast experience, and they feel they can pass that superior knowledge onto you, the consumer, which is pretty cool. And if you live in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal and you work nights, so there's no way you can go to a dealer ever, which, believe me, I've been there. This group of people can send the silencer to your living room, okay? And frankly, sometimes that's going to be your only option if you just can't make it to a dealer during business hours, and I know there's a lot of people like that. So anyway, our job here at Pew Science is to help the consumer, to present all the options that help you, okay? So go check them out. Finally, this podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. Yeah, so I'm the technical director of the lab. In the interest of public education, we have chosen to continue sponsoring this podcast and running a public research effort. And our goal is to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. And I think we're somewhat successful in achieving that goal. It's pretty cool. You can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest, most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms, based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone, even with 6.5 PRC out of a 4 systems Predator 6.5. And you're never going to see testing like this anywhere else, I promise. When you see it today, you're going to lose your mind. Did you know that Pew Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard with 8 sections that form a compendium of the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis on the planet Earth? 6 years running, all available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. It's true. And you can support this podcast and Pew Science and all the public testing we do by joining with the membership at pewscience.com. There's a donate feature on the review page and the podcast page. If you don't want to, give a monthly thing, you can just throw us a bone every once in a while. Price of a cup of coffee is pretty cheap. And if times are tight and you just lost all your money in the stock market because you're on Wall Street bets on Reddit too much, I understand. Dust yourself off and just give this podcast a good rating on Spotify or iTunes or Facebook or YouTube or whatever you need to do. Like and subscribe, all that stuff, and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. It doesn't cost you anything to do a good deed daily. So we have 2 topics for you today. The first is going to be the technical discussion of Report 6227, which is the original legacy AAC Ti-RANT 45 on the 1911, and we're going to split that into subtopics. And then topic 2 will be the introduction to Report 6.228, which is the 4 systems Predator 6.5. Yeah. On 6.5 PRC short action magnum, which is crazy. So let's move into topic 1 at a time of 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Okay. So topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6227. This is the Legacy AAC Ti-RANT Legacy AAC Ti-RANT 45 and the 45 ACP 1911 full-size combat handgun. We published this report last week with its accompanying hazard map 8.1.24. And now, as is tradition, this week we're going to do the deep dive into all the technical nitty-gritty in the physics and full description of the silencer and everything, because hopefully you've already had a chance to read the reports, both the hazard map and the full technical report, the test report. So now you're fully familiar, you've done your homework, and you're ready to listen to some of the discussion in layman's terms so that maybe that can reinforce your knowledge and you won't forget what you learned in the report. Okay, and I debated, I thought about doing this second after the 6.5 PRC introduction, but I really don't think I'm going to have the juice to be able to do this after 6.5. So we're going to do, as is tradition, we're going to go in chronological order with the information. And if you came here for 6.5 PRC and you're not, for some reason, a fan of historic silencers and awesome historic AAC and the Ti-RANT 45, which is probably one of the best 45 pistol silencers of all time, then yeah, you can skip this and go to the next topic, but I would stick around if I were you. So what we're going to do is I have subtopics Alpha through Foxtrot, A through F. We're going to go intro and recap. We're going to go Ti-RANT 45 overview. We're going to go Ti-RANT 45 silencer design, which is going to get more technical. We're going to go hazard map brief 8.1.24 to look at the hazard spatially. Then we're going to go into physics of system performance that we haven't tackled in the previous subtopics if we miss anything, and then we're going to go overall thoughts, okay? So as always with Pew Science, we go gradual scale of complexity. On the podcast, in the reports, in everything you see. You can start and get a course view if you're not into like the nitty-gritty nerd stuff, but if you want to go deep, we'll take you into deep water, the deepest you'll ever see. So grab your life preservers, and we'll move into subtopic A, intro and recap, at a time of 11 minutes and 36 seconds. Okay, so yeah, it was cool. Actually, last week, if you were following like the reception of this, it was really cool to see how many of you out there still use this silencer, this Ti-RANT 45. It is truly up there in the discussion. When you talk about the greatest 45 ACP pistol silencers of all time, it's always in the conversation. So I'm pretty stoked we could get this to you. I made a joke on social media last week, and really, I was actually kind of being serious. I said, now that we fully examined the Knight's Armament Mark 23 silencer and the Ti-RANT 9 and the Ti-RANT 45, I actually feel like I can rest. It was really bugging me that we didn't have all three silencer families characterized. Excuse me. It was bugging me. It's bugging me we hadn't done them all, and done them all justice yet. And now that we have them all done, it truly is a monumental accomplishment for us, for all of you. We kept this going long enough to do all of them justice. I'm really pleased we've done it. There probably won't be another company like Knights and AAC were at the height of the silencer frenzy those years ago. Because back then, the way Knights and AAC were run and the way things were going on, I don't think you can duplicate what they had. I think they had lightning in a bottle at that point. So if we can preserve just a little bit of this history and magic for future generations, I think it's a good thing. So that's one of the goals I had with this. And in speaking with people in general about silencer use, and if your current silencer you have is quote unquote good enough, or maybe whether or not it's worth upgrading, etc. I think it always depends on your specific situation. Sometimes you want the latest and greatest. Sometimes you need more silencers for more weapons, and sometimes your old stuff holds up and your circumstances dictate, maybe you just use your existing stuff and hold on to it for a while, and that's okay. I think in the case of the Ti-RANT 45, I think folks have something that's a lot more future-proof than they may think. And I know that's a weird phrase to use for a silencer, but if you've been jonesing for a new 45 pistol silencer and you have an old Ti-RANT 45, I'm not saying it's going to be on top forever, but I am saying I think you'll be surprised just how well it does compared to some new offerings. And so, don't lose hope, and don't go and throw. I told some guy the other day, I was like, don't throw your Ti-RANT 45 in the trash. Believe me, you would kick yourself. I think. I think it's really worth hanging on to. And with that, let's go to the general overview of the silencer now. And subtopic Bravo at a time of 14 minutes and 35 seconds. Okay. So overview. So, and I have it. Where is it? Oh yes. I have it sitting right here in front of me on my desk. This is actually my personal unit. I use this silencer, this exact silencer that I'm holding right now, that is the subject of the test report. I use it every time I practice with my carry pistol, which I try to do once a week. Sometimes I can't, but if I can, once a week I shoot, and then at the end of my session I do some mag suppressed, because normally your carry pistol you want to practice unsuppressed because that's when you're going to be using it in an emergency. And then if you are actually a suppressed shooter and you actually take silencer use seriously, well, yeah, then you're going to shoot suppressed. That's like, so what I do, I mean, you could always do suppressed fire first and then unsuppressed second, but I mean, I view unsuppressed proficiency with my carry pistol the most important because it is a life-saving device. And anyway, the point is, this is a real tool that I do use, and I really like to use it. And this is the one I have personally selected. And I can say that, which is cool. And the really cool thing about me being able to say that is that they don't make this anymore. So no one can say, oh, Pew Science is biased. It's like, okay, well, this isn't made anymore, and you literally can't buy one except for Gunbroker. So how biased is that? Okay, it's like, it's sad I have to give that disclaimer, but the internet is very serious business, and there's experts everywhere, right? It's a long silencer as pistol silencers go, but it's kind of par for the course when it comes to full size 45 ACP silencers, really. And as we spoke about last time, we'll speak about again in a moment. You sort of need the length in this case, and for such a long silencer, 8 3/4 inch long, 8.75 inches long, for such a long thing, it's really not that heavy, which is refreshing. Especially on a handgun, right? Because you're holding it out in front of you. All in with the piston and the spring and everything, all that good stuff, you're at 11.3 ounces. So are you going to feel it on the end of your handgun there? Well, yeah, certainly you are. But you do want to suppress 45 ACP out of a pistol, don't you? Do you want to do that or not? So, no free lunch. Well, you're already holding up a 45 pistol. You're not a wuss, right? So the way they designed this is pretty cool, I think. And it's somewhat typical now. Some of the things they've done are typical now, but they weren't necessarily typical back then, circa 2010 or so. And so what you can do, you can remove the rear cap of the silencer by hand. And this is a throwback. Who do you think has that industrial design signature of being able to remove something by hand? Well, I'll give you a hint. It starts with Mike and it ends in Smith. Okay. So when you remove the rear cap assembly, it's actually threaded right hand to the stainless steel blast chamber insert. You will find that the rear cap, it's actually connected in one piece and continuous with the piston housing. And if you've never disassembled a Ti-RANT, the rear assembly is actually a multi-layer threaded system that forms multiple annular cavities. Okay, the piston and the spring ride within the housing. Okay, and this is unlike Doug Olson's design in the Knight's Armament Mark 23 silencer that has the piston riding through a guide keyed to the tube. This is different. And so the AAC piston teeth ride in the piston housing, and the piston shaft rides through an O-ring in the rear of the housing. And this O-ring in the rear of the housing is actually how almost all modern pistol silencer inertial decoupling devices are made now. See, nobody did the Knights version except for B&T, who was asked to copy it for the Euro market, right? Every other one is like this. And you can learn more about this in our Knights Armament Mark 23 silencer podcasts and reports, of which you can go to pewscience.com, use the search function, and go nuts. Okay, so you have the, back to the Ti-RANT 45. So you have the Ti-RANT piston riding in the piston housing, and the housing tube that it rides in, that's connected to the rear cap. And that tube that's connected to the rear cap has perforations in it, little holes. So the piston vents in the piston body that you're used to seeing, that people copy now, those vent to the space between the piston shaft and that piston housing. And that is your first annulus. Then the perforations in the housing, little holes, those enable the blast loads to vent again to the next annulus. And that annulus is formed by the OD of the piston housing and the ID of the stainless steel blast chamber insert. Stick with me. And then that blast chamber insert is stainless steel, and it's screwed into the titanium Ti-RANT tube, and the red Loctited in there. That blast chamber insert is actually very important. For one, again, the piston teeth actually index there in multiple notches at the end of travel and at the beginning of the stroke, and that's steel on steel, very good. But also, there are larger perforations in that chamber insert. Then there's bigger holes in that chamber insert, and those, again, vent blast loads. And this time, that happens to the third and final annulus, the one between the blast chamber insert and the outer tube. So you have triple annular cavities just in the inertial decoupling assembly of the Ti-RANT 45. And I've literally never heard anyone talk about the gas dynamics of this and why this works so well. And you know what? There might be someone who speaks about it. I'm sure Mike Smith and Kevin have spoken about it, technically behind closed doors. But I've never seen a technical discussion highlighting this. And this is and there's a method, and this matters because of how the Ti-RANT performs, and we'll talk about that. So the entire inertial decoupler system that I just described, that whole triple annular cavity system and the mechanical connections of it all, that all forms what AAC called the ASAP system. So that acronym they made, it stands for Assured Semi-Automatic Performance. Assured Semi-Automatic Performance. So at the time of development, and actually now, 16 years later or so, it was really important that silencers function on pistols correctly, or that the pistols function with the silencer installed. Like however you want to look at it, tail wagging the dog, as it were. You understand what I'm saying? It was important that things work, and so this is a pretty reliable assembly with, like, so far all the 45 ACP pistols that we've tested with it. But we tend to use full size 45 ACP pistols. But so far, yeah, Ti-RANT 45 is a humdinger with reliability for us. One of the things we're going to get into in the next subtopic about the performance of the silencer is the lower back pressure than some other models. And that actually might seem counterintuitive to you, especially considering it uses K-baffles and is so long. But I think the triple layer annular cavities in the inertial decoupling system design of the Ti-RANT, I think they hold the key to that. We spoke about this last episode. Piston system design is so important in pistol silencers. There was a movement by some machinists in the industry to standardize on pistons, like the last few years. I forgot what the acronym they wanted to use, but basically what they were trying to do was taking the silencer co-pistons that fit into those, rugged and Huxworks and the standard piston dimensions that everyone copies. And then they wanted to try to make it a standard, like a hub threading, but for pistons. And I'll just say, in my technical opinion, I think that's probably not the smartest thing to do if you want things to advance. That's my opinion. I don't care if they do it or not. I don't sell silencers, so I don't care. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's a smart thing to do at all if you want to advance the state of practice, because you're gonna lock things down, and as soon as you do that, you're gonna stagnate innovation, because you're gonna make an artificial design constraint that doesn't need to be there. Okay, like it boggles my mind how people don't realize that just pay the money for a mount that makes your silencer work correctly done. Like, I understand that you want to switch your silencer to every gun, but when it comes to pistols, pistol silencers are much more complicated than rifle silencers. Okay. Now, the high early time flow rate of the Ti-RANT 45 is really awesome, and we're going to talk about that. Now, moving forward in the silencer, okay, so we just talked about the blast chamber, essentially, because we're talking about the inertial decoupling system, which forms that, and all the different things going on now in the design. Now, when you move forward, you have the baffle stack, and all the baffles except for the stainless steel blast baffle are aluminum. So all the baffles are aluminum except for that stainless steel blast baffle. And again, the baffles are what we call K baffles, like colloquially. Yeah. Colloquially. What a weird word. The reason they're called K baffles is because if you look at them from the side and you section them, they look like the letter K. And AAC really took this type of baffle through a lot of their designs. They loved this thing. All kinds of different iterations of the K baffle were used throughout a lot of their silencers, much like, not the same baffle, but the much philosophy how Doug Olson's crimp cone design from Qualitech that followed him to Knights ended up proliferating through most Knight silencers. Similarly, the K baffle was something that AAC optimized throughout a lot of. Now, not all of their products. A lot of their products had slant baffles. Things like the Prodigy, things like the Titan, things like that. But K baffles in their pistol cans were something they really thought was slick. And also the rimfire, some of the rimfire like the Element series. Now, there are various reflection and flow inducing features on the baffle mouths that introduce turbulence, and the geometry is really hyper tuned through a lot of experimentation they did. And some of the magic of the Ti-RANT series is the pure performance. And that was brought about by the inertial decoupling assembly and the baffle iteration. I mean, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts here. There's really nowhere around that. And there was a lot of good work done here, a lot of hard work. And the late time flow rate of the Ti-RANT is very controlled. And that's a consequence of this baffle design purely, even with the very large borehole necessary for 45 ACP. And that's the real humdinger trick there, and now you go further down the silencer, you get to the end cap. It's also aluminum in the Ti-RANT, and all the aluminum components are 7075 T6 in the silencer, and you can actually remove the end cap with a tool that is available that indexes to pinholes in the cap, and you can remove all the baffles for cleaning. And now, one thing that can get you, I'm gonna go a little deep here, but it's real, so I'm gonna talk about it. One thing that can get you with this silencer is the left-hand threading if you're an HK user like me. So, like, I carry a USP 45 Tactical, it's like USP Master Race, all in, and since I like to use this silencer on my carry gun, I'm using 16x1 left hand, threaded 16 by 1 millimeter left hand, which is what it is. Why does 16 by 1 millimeter left hand threading exist? Why is that? Do you know why? We talked about it several months ago. In February, we talked about it. It exists because Knights and HK did not want people screwing the Knights silencer with the Mark 23 piston on the wrong gun and breaking something because of physics. Because back then, silencer pistons were tuned for reliability, and they didn't want someone to break their gun because silencer pistons aren't supposed to be generic. Now, everyone copies everything, they're generic, but the originator of the design, Knights, didn't want you to break your gun, so they took the 16 by 1 millimeter right-hand threading from the Mark 23 and they reversed it, make it impossible to confuse the two barrels. That's why you literally have to purchase the separate piston assembly for the Mark 23 and the USP 45 Tactical, because the Knights can simply needs a different decoupling system. Now, as a consequence to this, I'm getting to it. As a consequence to this left-handedness on this pistol, when you thread a Ti-RANT 45 onto USP 45 and you crank it on with your hand, lefty-tighty, as it were, you can, and may, depending on how old your Ti-RANT silencer is, loosen the connection of the stainless steel blast chamber insert in the tube. Yeah, because it's threaded right hand to the tube, of course, like normal human beings would do. And so the piston housing and the end cap assembly is threaded right hand to the insert, and the insert is threaded right hand to the tube. So yeah, the only way to prevent that from loosening when you go lefty-tighty on this system with your HK is to use either a thread locking compound from insert to tube like they did from the factory. Mine has since disintegrated due to use and age, and also probably getting it like really hot as I shot a lot. Or what you can do is you can tighten it to the gun with only your fingers touching the rear cap with that grip surface. And it's weird to do it, but you can do it and make it work. One thing that could be cool, and I thought about doing this, but I don't have a 3D printer. Maybe some of you kids can help me. One of these things I thought about doing was 3D printing a plastic open-ended wrench to use at the range or something that only interfaces with the rear cap to tighten it left hand to a gun. Make some custom notched piece of plastic that won't mess up your rear cap. It could be a cool project to do. Another alternative, what you could do is take a strap wrench or just a good strong hand and torque the silencer onto a right-hand threaded barrel gun, and that will transfer the torque to the steel insert and the tube interface because the piston teeth index on that insert. So that's how that works. And then by hand, you could then loosen the rear cap. I think if you He-Man the whole thing tight by holding the silencer body on a left-hand threaded pistol like I've done, you can undo it. So just think it through. There's definitely ways to skin the cat, but I know this is really specialized issue, but if you're an HK person and using a left-hand 45 barrel, 16x1 left hand, well then you might just run into that. And this might not be the only silencer you run into it with. So just keep that in mind. There are ways to do it. This might be one of those cases where I wouldn't want to use Roxette because Roxette is silica impregnated glue, meaning it has like literal silica in it, like sand. And I try not to use Roxette on things because you can really damage stuff depending, and you can disintegrate the Roxette with moisture, but what if you can't get it in there because of this? And I don't know. I think they used red Loctite from the factory on the Ti-RANT 45. I'd have to ask Mike what he used. I think it was red Loctite. But anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, let's move into the silencer design now, which a lot of it we've already covered, but there's more to say at a time of 32 minutes. And 43 seconds. Okay, yeah, Ti-RANT 45 silencer design. Okay, so this is key, and we're going to get into performance here, but it's all kind of tied together. So your early time flow rate, when the bullet uncorks and the blast loads get into this thing, that's a really big thing to worry about. Really big thing to worry about. You ever shot pistols with silencers and just had a ton of things blowing back in your face and also really bad ejection port blast? Sucks, right? It's like such a pain in the butt. Chances are, if you have experienced that, it's a piston system design issue in the silencer. Chances are. The Ti-RANT was ahead of its time here. That triple annulus really works well. And again, I'm not sure if they stumbled upon it by accident or not, like just in doing the mechanical design of the system. Next time I see Smith, I'm going to ask him about it. There's another nuance here. The stainless steel piston housing and the rear cap housing and the piston and the blast baffle, all heat-treated stainless steel, right? Really built for durability. There was a time when pistol silencer blast baffles were actually not being made from stainless steel. The blast baffles were being made from aluminum. For example, Gemtech was guilty of that. And it was not great. It really was not great. You would get erosion visibly. And silencers like the Ti-RANT series, the SWR Trident, and others, they use stainless steel blast baffles, and it really helped the system last longer on these short pistol barrels, sandblasting this stuff. And consumers were really happy. I was one of those consumers. When those cans, I was like, oh man, they're finally using stainless steel blast baffles on these pistol cans. Heck yeah. I was so excited about that a long time ago. It was a couple decades. And, high early time flow rate, I keep saying that. It's something that really does matter. And it's interesting. A 45 pistol silencer it does have a big hole, right? And your main baffle orifice is freaking huge. So you might think, well, heck, big bore, I'm going to have a really high flow rate. Easy peasy, I have a big hole. It's going to be a problem. But remember, the bore of your barrel is also a big bore. Okay, so you can and you will still expand into the first expansion chamber during uncorking. And if you think your primary bore is just going to act as an expedient vent, like off that first reflector, oh no, primary bore is big, so no problem. Well, dude, there's a lot of bore volume. There's a lot of freaking initial diameter to the jet. If you think it's just going to expediently vent off that first reflector right down the middle, and you're still going to make your silencer quiet, that's a really tall order, guys. The Ti-RANT allows a lot of work to be done early. And yeah, does it restrict flow later? Well, of course it does. But before that happens, a lot of expansions happen into those three annuli. The three annular cavities. I got to use the word annuli. It's not very often you get to use that word. Now, downstream, when you move forward in time, so I'm taking you spatially and temporally now. I'm going to give you a spatial discussion and a temporal discussion, varying in space and time. When you move forward in time, you have to think about how big that hole is and how you're going to slow down this dang momentum transfer to atmosphere, right? Or in other words, you have to think about how a silencer works. So you want to expand and cool those gases as much as you can, and at least control the propagation from the end cap. If you want to do it like a 9mm pistol silencer with 45, you're going to have a hard time unless you use more baffles. You're just going to have a hard time because the hole's so big. So length is generally the biggest silencer performance handicap. We've talked about that with rifle silencers and pistol silencers and everything. It's just universal. That's why people get in arguments about silencers that people call K silencers, right? It's because you have a really short silencer. Like if you have a really short silencer and it performs really, really well, you're doing excellent work objectively. So either you did the hard work to design it, or you begged, borrowed, and stole the tech to do it. Either way, you have a competitive product, and that's why that's why there's controversy around them, because it's such a competitive thing. Because by its nature, it has to be. If your short silencer is doing well, that means it's competitive, whether you did it yourself or you stole it. Okay, so that's the silencer industry is very tumultuous and very, very ripe with drama because of all this, the theft. It's one of the main reasons. It's actually one of the main reasons the silencer industry has so much drama, because a lot of people steal things. I don't know if you know that. It's because a lot of people steal things and they're metal tubes you can't see inside. But if you could, you'd see that people stole things, and then it'd be a whole thing. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just like there's more drama in silencers than there are in flashlights. They're both metal tubes. Flashlights can be very drama-inducing, but silencers are more drama-inducing. So you look at the Ti-RANT 45, and you look at it being 8 3/4 inches long, and then you look at the Knight's Mark 23 silencer, which is much older. It's a little over an inch shorter. And some folks might be like, "Oh man, is that a step backward?" I mean, the Ti-RANT 45 is 15% longer than the Knight's can. But the performance, boy. I mean, I think the performance is a suppression rating category higher across the risk field with the Ti-RANT. So is a 15% length increase worth it to you to get that type of suppression performance everywhere? Only you can be the judge of that, right? But now that you know the metrics, maybe you can make that decision. I think in some respects, like from a purist standpoint, or like maybe a pure mechanical design standpoint, the Ti-RANT's a step backward. But that's because I think the piston assembly of the Knight system is superior. But what AAC did with the ASAP housing, I think that's actually more advanced. So like all in all, like to give my subjective opinion, which I don't get to give much, except on the podcast, I don't get to give the subjective opinion in the reports, So I want to talk about this on the pod. This is a creative outlet for me, so I'm going to tell you what I think. I would say the Ti-RANT 45 is holistically a step up from the Knight's can. I would say that the Knight's can is still my favorite silencer, probably, personally. But for modern practical use with my carry gun, I probably prefer the Ti-RANT. It's hard to pick. I really like them both. I think I probably shoot my Ti-RANT more because although it's also out of production, it's still going to be easier to replace than the Knights. Now, I don't treat the Knights as a safe queen. I shoot the Knights quite a bit, but I'm using the Mark 23. I don't like the Knights cannon on the USP as much as I like the Ti-RANT on the USP. I do have both piston assemblies for the Knights can, but it's kind of my Mark 23 silencer, and I use it for that. And USP, I use the Ti-RANT 45, and that's my personal rig, my personal choices. You don't have to do what I do. I'm just telling you, because a lot of people ask me what I like. Well, this is what I like. One thing I forgot to mention is the piston options for the Ti-RANT 45, didn't I? I didn't tell you that. Well, you have a lot. You have a lot of mounting options. And by the way, the AAC pistons are not compatible with Silencer Co stuff. So like we haven't talked about this for years, but believe me, we will because I'll show you the rugged Obsidian 45 in both configurations on the 1911. But we haven't talked about rugged and Silencer Co in a while. So all you new folks, you're going to learn some history, but if you haven't figured it out, anyway, they're all it's incestuous, and so the AAC pistons actually are not compatible with the Silencer Co and rugged and blah 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 pistons. My advice with the Ti-RANT would be to use real AAC pistons. But if you want to use Easy Lock or something like that, knock yourself out. Because I think if they copied the piston porting dimensions right with the AAC pistons, I think you'll get similar performance. The cases where Easy Lock pistons won't give you the same suppression performance are probably the Dead Air Mojave, the Cat SC, stuff like that. I wouldn't. It's gross using a Griffin piston, those two. Anyway, in general, I'm a fan of factory pistons on high-performance pistol silencers. Now, I do find, and here's the thing, here's the harsh reality, guys. I find that the O-ring for this thing just isn't as good as the Knights piston O-ring system. Like, this silencer will unscrew a little easier than my Knights can will. It just will. I've messed with different durometers, getting a different size O-ring to fit. If you want to try to do that, I've experimented with from McMaster Carr. It's almost impossible. I almost want to have some custom sizes made to try. I know that Mike Smith picked a standard McMaster Carr part for this. Like, why wouldn't he? It's just, I think he picked something that could do it, but I don't think it's perfect. And I think it could be better. And anyway, I get it, dude. But he'd have to redo the piston design. I don't know. I feel like this could be done better. Just don't lube the thing. And no, I'm talking about the piston O-ring, the thing that touches the barrel. I'm not talking about the rear cap O-ring. You need to put your TW25B on that. Okay, all right. Subtopic Delta at a time of 43 minutes and 30 seconds. All right, making pretty good time. 1 second. Okay, graduated scale of complexity. We're going to get nerd stuff now with the hazard map brief 8.1.24. But it's practical nerd stuff. It's like, how dangerous is this system for you and your family? Okay. You can pull up Hazard Map Brief 8.1.24. That's in Section 8 of the Silencer Sound Standard. Man. And truly, and you can click and make this risk map bigger in the report to fill your screen, your phone, or whatever. Not if you're driving. Don't do that. But maybe to truly appreciate this map, you would want a side-by-side comparison of the Knights on the Mark 23, and you can pull that up on your own time. It's in the Section 8 too. Just to compare the 45 ACP pistol hazards in this 3-meter square grid, bird's eye view. It is crazy to see so much green on this 45 risk map, guys, with this Ti-RANT 45 with the 1911, and we should go back and do a risk map of the Ti-RANT 9 to compare with this, and then also the Cat SC. just to give you an idea of truly how well the Ti-RANT 45 is reducing human risk here, I hope you, and look, I hope you saw that historical note at the beginning of the report for this Ti-RANT. I put Kevin's old marketing copy in there, word for word, for you folks to read. And yeah, there's some hyperbole and there's some bravado in it, of course, imagine. But by and large, the big picture of their marketing language held true in that at the time this thing was released, it was as quiet as a lot of 9mm pistol silencers from the competitors were. And so you look at the hazard map of this thing here, and it kind of supports that. You know, one thing I hope you take away from suppressed pistol hazard maps in the Silencer Sound Standard is that a big part of this hazard to you and other people is happening from ejection port blast. And that ejection port blast hazard can be reduced by having what? A high early time flow rate in the silencer, just like it can be reduced as such on a 5.56 AR. So here's an exercise for you. Let's think about this. Here's some homework for you, or maybe just a thought experiment for you. What if we showed a short configuration of a pistol silencer on a hazard map? What would that look like? Think about it. Well, the ejection port blast would be pretty low. Like in the case of the short Mojave 9, the short Cat SC, right? On 9mm. Because why? Is it because the pistol silencers are short? Well, no, it's because they have a higher early time flow rate. But the downstream momentum would be more extreme on those two short pistol silencers, wouldn't they? So you might have a safer operator area, but you'd have more dangerous forward field, wouldn't you? So in front of the shooter, maybe on one of those maps, there would be more red. But maybe the shooter would have similar protection to, what you see here, or to their long configuration counterparts on 9mm. Now, big question for you in this thought experiment would be, well, if that happened and you had that forward field that was more red, would that mean that the shooter's going to hear the short configuration is just as quiet as the long configuration? Just because it's similar risk near them? No, it's not going to mean that. The shooter's going to know it's louder in the forward field, but he's going to know that due to late time effects, not due to acute blast hazards that are hammering his ears. You see, you can perceive louder signature and not be getting hurt by it. Okay? Remember, the suppression rating is a risk metric. Okay? If you look at this hazard map, and you think because it has 45.1 suppression rating at the ear that you can't tell you're firing a gun and you can't tell that you're going to hear reflections off the trees in late time, well, you're wrong. Okay? We're looking at the continuum, modeling it, and looking at the transfer function of the human ear and seeing how the ear responds. Okay? Like, suppression rating is quantifying how far we're pushing your ear. So you're not gonna all of a sudden be oblivious to other things around you. You can still hear a loud noise happening away from you without it hurting you, and you can still tell it's loud. Understand? I don't know a better way to explain that except look at the damn map. You know what I mean? Okay. So anyway, I hope this map helps you. And I hope it gives you a feel for how the risk field compares with other stuff you've seen so far. Because remember, it's all on the same scale. So directly comparable in risk space. And that's the whole power of the suppression rating. And being able to see it spatially is literally a continuum of awesomeness. Okay. Check out all the maps in Section 8 of the Silencer Sound Standard at pewscience.com. We're going to move into the system performance in the full technical report at subtopic echo at a time of 49 minutes and 12 seconds. Okay, I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to go to the full report, which is 6227. Okay, 1 second. You should almost know everything you need to know about the Ti-RANT 45 now, but that's okay. We're going to hit the high points here and some of the nitty-gritty too. And what we're going to do, we always do, bottom line up front, 47.6 suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end cap of the silencer, 1.6 meters above the ground in the true free field compatible with mil standard 1474 echo testing and the silencer sound standard, 45.1 suppression rating 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear in the same test, for a total of 50.0 composite flat. Flat. Now, that's pretty good. You see 45 ACP on 1911, you thought, oh man, it's going to be loud, or oh, it's going to be quiet. We started with a humdinger on the 1911. Like I said before, I don't want this to lull you into a false sense of security. You guys thinking it's all going to be roses on 1911. No, dude. No, the Ti-RANT 45 is just really good. It's really good. Now, this report's chock full of awesomeness. You got the suppression rating graphic at the top. You got the hazard map we just talked about. You have awesome links to other historic legacy AAC silencer reports, like the Ti-RANT 9 series with huge case study we did in 6.118. You got the AAC M4 2000 Mod 8 and report 139. You got a huge historic thing about it. You got all kinds of stuff. Now, the pay dirt for a lot of you is going to be the bar chart here. So it's cool. And so you can actually scroll in. It's really quick because it's in the intro here for you, the first section of the report. Luckily, we did not leave you completely high and dry, given this was the first 1911 test. You have the HK stuff here too, with the Knights and the B&T to give you a flavor for comparisons. At the very least, it shows you how far the Ti-RANT has advanced things after the Knights unit debuted, at the very least. This is a really big accomplishment back then, okay? Now, real quick, let's talk about the host, because we haven't done that yet. The 1911, this thing's really interesting. Similar barrel length to the Mark 23, actually. Between the two HK pistols in barrel length, it's sitting in between them. And something neat happened in the unsuppressed test that I thought was cool. And by the way, that's in this report too. You get unsuppressed blast overpressure and blast impulse in both units of pascals and PSI. I did both metric and imperial units. You know, there was, just as an aside really quick, I was talking with someone who interfaces with SOCOM, the United States Special Operations Command, the military, and they were talking to me about, man, they really want to see blast pressure and PSI. I say, well, man, you know, we already have that for you, right? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, have you been to our website and you've seen the blast overpressure plots? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, did you see the sound signatures? He's like, oh yeah, sound signatures, right, with dB. I'm like, yeah. There's dB on the plots, yeah, but did you look at the vertical axis of the plots? He's like, well, yeah. So what does it say? I said, well, pascals and pressure? I'm like, that's right. Pascals is a metric pressure unit. He's like, you know, you can convert that to PSI. He's like, what? He's like, you can convert decibels to PSI? I was like, well, yeah, you can convert decibels to PSI, but it's a little harder because decibel is a logarithmic unit. So what you want to do is if you want to jump from metric to imperial, you want to go pascals to PSI, you plot it on the same chart. How about that? And then you can plot decibels on the same chart just as long as you have the scale right. He's like, really? I'm like, really? You can. And so I started doing that for people because there are some end users that actually, you know, when you get TBI and everything, people start talking about blast pressure in units of PSI because in the blast world, we quantify units in PSI, and you know, the silencer testing world is really far behind. And like I told you in the silencer sound standard at the beginning, we wanted to use PSI, but we were going to end up with pascals anyway because decibels are used. So we're like, okay, I guess it's actually stupid to us. Like, it's actually stupid that we use decibels at all to tell you anything about this stuff because no one in the blast community really uses the logarithmic unit of decibels. Right? Ever. It's the acoustics community that does. So we would rather use PSI. So if you look at figure 2 in the report and figure 3 in the report, you have blast pressure and then blast impulse. This is literally from unsuppressed, Mark 23, unsuppressed, USP 45 tactical, and unsuppressed, Remington 1911 R1. Okay? And you have pressure space in figure 2 and impulse space in figure 3. The same data you get when we measure a silencer. Okay, it's the same thing, guys. Now, I want you to look at something here. This is really important to really help you understand this is real. I've heard, some people say it's not real. No, this is as real as a heart attack real. Look at right before 30 milliseconds in both plots and how the 3 unsuppressed blast load signatures from these 3 guns compare. And you'll see that the 1911 is in red. Okay. Pretty interesting. Remember how HK marketed their polygonal rifling in their barrels to create a better gas seal for the bullet than traditional barrel rifling does? Well, I'll be darned. I think we actually proved that's true in this test. When you look at figure 2 and figure 3, look at the precursor flow pressure right before 30 milliseconds. In figure 2, you see the pressure. Then look at the impulse it produces in figure 3. See how the precursor flow is higher with the 1911? More blast load is leaking past the bullet into the barrel and then out of the barrel before the bullet uncorks and the primary blast arrives. That's right, with that traditional rifling. Remember what we spoke about last time? Your bullets are subsonic in 45, right? Remember? The expanding gases in the barrel are supersonic. Okay? When they leak past the bullet, either by obturation delay or incomplete obturation, they leave the barrel first, don't they? They have to. And that is a common precursor flow event in this combustion regime. And there's less obturation with the 1911. Why? Because it doesn't have that fancy polygonal rifling. So HK was not lying to you. The data's right there. HK was telling the truth. And you can see it right there in figure 2 and figure 3. So I hope you caught that. Right? 1 second. How do we know the data's real? Pew Science is, they're bought and paid for. Okay, well, this is completely member funded. So you listening to this funded this. So thank you for contributing to our evil plan. So you scroll down to the main blast pressure and impulse traces for the silencer test in figure 4 and 5. Here in the report. And you see what you might at first think are 9mm pistol signatures. When you see them, that's how freaking crazy this Ti-RANT 45 does. You might think this is a 9mm test. When I first saw them, I was like, oh my God, did we mess up? Did I test a Ti-RANT 9 at the same time? No, I knew it was 45. But you might, if you didn't know what you were looking for, you might think this is 9mm, and you would be wrong. This is actually the Ti-RANT 45 on the 1911, and what you see here is a momentum accumulation rate being throttled. That's the 8.75-inch length of optimized K-baffle goodness. It is just efficient. Think back to the Knights and B&T report. Think back to the Knights and B&T report with the Mark 23 and the USP, or report 6214. Go take a look if you forgot. Momentum was coming out way faster with those, right? And the Ti-RANT 45 actually controls things. And that's really important for a pistol silencer. Downstream momentum control is literally everything for pistol silencer performance. Once you figure out the early time flow rate and you don't blast someone with the ejection part blast, those are the two things, man. If you can do both, you get something like the Ti-RANT. Now, or the Cat SC or whatever, right? So another thing that's good to see here is, there's some FRP, there's some first round pop, but it's not utterly insane, is it? And if you're a member, you Pew Science members, salt of the earth, to tell you what, make this all happen. If you want to see how this thing is doing at the shooter's ear, you will see that, again, it might remind you of a 9mm pistol, and mechanical noise here actually starts being important, which is one key indicator that you're getting quiet enough. Now, when the mechanical noise of a pistol silencer, when mechanical noise of pistol silencer systems, like the inertial decoupling assembly, when that starts to matter in the signatures a lot, man, you're getting pretty quiet. Mechanical shock is still damaging your ears, to be frank. Blast loads riding on top of that, definitely bad. So, if you control those blast loads and then you figure out the damping too, boy, hint, hint, hint. Okay, you can do it. We have the technology. Hint, hint. Again, one of our policies is that I do not design silencers to keep unbiased. We do not sell them. We do not design them. Okay? We don't make them. But hint, hint, hint. Figure out the damping, hint, hint. To take you take you down this road here, to give you an idea of how big a deal the Ti-RANT 45 performance is at the shooter's ear. With full power Spear Lawman 230 grain ball ammo out of a 1911, if you took an HK P30L 9mm with a resilient RSP with 147 grain Spear Lawman, it's similar risk to the shooter. And guess what? If you use the Silencer Co. Omega 9K, you would be half a category more dangerous than this to the shooter. 9mm going to 45 with this. That's how good the Ti-RANT 45 is in a 1911. Okay? And that goes to host. Can the Ti-RANT 45 also do wonderful things on other 45 ACP pistol hosts, like maybe the USP and others, and FNX 45? It does pretty well on those other guns. But in our testing, the 1911 and the Mark 23 are king for signature. A lot more people have a 1911 than a Mark 23. And sorry, Mark 23 people, I am your people. I have a Mark 23. I sometimes carry the Mark 23. I love it. It's amazing. Knights Can Ford is my favorite silencer, but the reality is more people have a 1911, so here we are. The action dynamics of the 1911 seem to be conducive to lowering the severity of ejection port blast in our testing, so that's pretty much why we picked it. Now, is the 1911 as durable suppressed as a USP, like long term? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I would venture to say probably not. I would venture to say with the correct silencer, a USP is going to outlast a 1911. Like, I'm pretty certain about that. There's no way a USP 45 Tactical is going to lose durability contest to a 1911. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, dude. But we're still going to use 1911 for the standard testing, so. All right. If we break it, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I think if you use a proper silencer and take care of things, you're not going to break your 1911. Just be careful. Don't use super high back pressure silencers on pistols unless the manufacturer has tuned them specifically for the gun, guys. I keep hearing people breaking their freaking pistols with Silencer Co. octanes, and I'm like, yeah, I bet you are breaking them. Anyway, yeah, how well tuned do you think a Silencer Co. octane piston is? For that back pressure. You know, another point of comparison here that may surprise you. Speaking of high back pressure, did you know that a Ti-RANT 45 on a 45 ACP pistol surpasses the operator protection of a rugged Obsidian 9 on a 9mm pistol? It does. It's true. The 45 ACP operator protection of a Ti-RANT 45 is almost hitting the operator protection of a Mojave 9. Long configuration in the free field. I know. I know, dude. The Cat SC on a 9 beats it. But hey, that's not bad for a silencer from 2010, is it? All right, overall thoughts of this Ti-RANT 45 history. I was going to say historic silencer, but history. 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 39 seconds. Yeah, I think it holds up. That's my overall thoughts. I think the Ti-RANT 45 holds up. I'm really excited to see where the research takes us in this 1911. I mean, I would not get rid of your Ti-RANT 45 if you have one. Like I said, I really, 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 really hope AAC makes them again. That would be cool. The combination of weight and looks and performance, I think it brings the whole package. And the finish on mine is a good one. You know, some of those old AAC cans had garbage finish. Mine seemed to be pretty good. I don't know. So it's like a, what do they call it? Like a molly coat or I don't know. I think this brings the whole package. I think to this day, it's one of the best pistol silencers out there, like in history. I think I would really like us to evaluate this Ti-RANT 45 on 9mm, just like we did the Obsidian 45 early on. And of course, we need to also evaluate the Obsidian 45 on 45, which we have done. Just got to publish it. We need to tackle stuff like the scientific Osprey family, which we will. I think that's very important to do for the history. It'll come. Like we have the omega 9K, which is important. So we'll do the Ospreys. And one thing I forgot to tell you, you can use the AAC Triad mount with this thing, mounted to a 3-lug weapon. Could be one of the reasons the 45 version of the Ti-RANT is so beloved. It's a very versatile silencer. We're going to see if we can get any clues into that when we test it on 9mm. We'll see what happens. It'll be cool to see. It's going to be it's always challenging for a 45 pistol can on 9mm, right? Huge overbore, right? Completely different pressures too. So I hope you folks enjoyed this trip down memory lane. It is not too often that silencers like the Ti-RANT 45 happen. So cheers to many more. Hopefully we'll find more diamonds like this in silencer history. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who made this possible, all of you listening, and all of our wonderful supporters, both consumer and corporate. This type of research program, I think, helps everyone in the world. And you all made it possible by supporting our lab, our little lab. So we are in your debt, okay? We're going to move into topic 2 for something completely different at a time of 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 8 seconds. All right, 1 second, guys. All right, now this is nuts. All right, Sound Signature Review 6228, 4 Systems Predator 6.5 on 6.5 PRC bolt action. Okay? Hunters rejoice. We are now adding combustion energy to the silencer sound standard, but we're doing it gradually. And we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We're shrinking jet diameter and we're adding energy. 6.5 PRC. So we're going to, and so don't worry. This is a short action magnum. Don't worry. Long action magnum is coming later. Right now, we're going to talk about the method to the madness and just how much 6.5 PRC differs from 308. Okay, and this is the intro to this. And where is my thing? I have the article ready for you. It's going to be live tomorrow morning. Today for you, tomorrow for me at 0700 U.S. Central Time, Wednesday. And I don't know how many times we've been asked for 300 Win Mag performance data. It's a lot. Now, surprisingly, there's also been a ton of folks over the years asking about 6.5 Creedmoor, Well, never saw a need to do 6.5 Creedmoor, We did 1 test in the standard for that. You've seen it. It's a CGS one back in the day. The only reason that's in there is really early on, they really, really, really wanted us to do it. They wanted to pay us to do it. So they were a client. Okay. So we did it. But it was on a 22-inch barrel. And they had the gun, and then we had to give it back, and we had to borrow it. And then, it was 22-inch. I'm like, okay. And the silencer we did it on was the Hyperion, and it did well. But something always bugged me that 6.5 Creedmoor has 308 as the parent case, right? There's just not that much difference in energy. I was like, was not intellectually stimulating to me. And I thought that it was a research progression that if we wasted time on it, it was going to pigeonhole us and it was going to waste time. I didn't think it was valuable. So over the years, as we were planning to increase energy in the public rankings, because remember, we've done things not public that are much more powerful. So as we were looking to increase energy in the public rankings, we debated this, and so we've tested 338 Lapua Magnum and 300 Norma Magnum quite a bit over the years for private clients, and it can be cool, but it is less applicable to most people. 300 Win Mag actually became a hot topic. And we have decided that we will be doing 300 Win Mag. Now, as a bridge, and also driven by demand from several of our clients, combined with the consumer demand for higher pressures and longer duration combustion, and the consumer demand for 6.5 silencers being evaluated, there's been a demand for that. We decided that 6.5 PRC would be a good candidate, 6.5 precision rifle cartridge by Hornady. So that's why it's a 2 birds with 1 stone type of thing. Now, in our initial trials, it ended up being true. We had this postulation. We've actually tested 6.5 PRC with several clients. And, I think only one of them right now wants you to see it. Funny how that works. And we'll do the other ones anyway and show them to you. It ended up being true that we really got something good out of this. We selected the Hornady ELD match bullet in 147 grain weight and the Hornady load, actually, Hornady ammo. 147 grains, very, very similar in weight to the 149 grain 7.62 NATO the Lake City ammo we've been using in our 308 bolt gun testing and our SR25 testing. But boy, howdy, when you compare the two, the 7.62 NATO and 6.5 PRC, the PRC has more butt behind it, has some more kick to it than 308. And, the 6.5 PRC is what you can call, if you want, you can call it a short action magnum. I don't think it's a true magnum cartridge like 300 Win Mag, but it will fit in a short action gun. And the gun we picked is the Seekins Havoc PH3 bolt action, 20-inch barrel. Again, why? We want to control the situation. We want to keep the 20-inch barrel. Now, 20-inch 308 and 20-inch 6.5 PRC is a pretty cool comparison. We are varying the jet diameter and we're varying the pressure and the duration, but we are not varying the barrel length. Very good, very good. Now, another reason we chose to go 20-inch with the barrel length is silencer use. I mean, there's tons of reasons to go 20-inch. One, same distance from the operator. Two, same uncorking time, or not time, that's a dangerous word to say. Same uncorking distance. But silencer use is another reason to go 20-inch. Why? Because I know you can get better ballistics from 6.5 PRC to go 22-inch or 24-inch barrel. I get it. I know. But guess what you get with a 20-inch barrel? Mm-hmm. Shorter weapon system with a silencer. And that's awesome. And if you're a hunter carrying a bolt-action rifle to shoot an elk or whatever you want to do to engage with a more long-range cartridge like 6.5 PRC, you're going to appreciate that shorter length just carrying your rifle around. Trust. So that's the abbreviated story behind why we've selected 6.5 PRC as our bridge to 300 Win Mag. We're killing two birds with one stone. All silencers that can't take a 7.62 cartridge and they max out at 6.5 will be tested with 6.5 PRC. And 7.62 or 30 caliber silencers that advertise they can take magnum rounds will be tested with, you guessed it, 300 Win Mag. Now, the barrel length's to be determined, but 20-inch seems pretty good for that too to me. I like keeping things the same, 20-inch. It's good. Now, what silencer are we starting with publicly for 6.5 PRC, you may ask? I'm glad you asked. Do you remember front of rifle systems, 4 systems? Well, I do. You may remember 4 systems from such things as the Monarch, the Monarch Recce, the acquisition of Mercy Firearms Pluto, and so the Pluto, which is the tiny rimfire silencer. 4 Systems does really great stuff. They learned about silencers from Pew Science, and they work very hard to bring you products that perform well enough for them to use themselves. And so they're corn-fed boys, if you are keeping track. If you care about those details, they like corn. 4 has something called the Predator 6.5. It is, as the name sounds, a hunting silencer, full size, 8 to 9 inches long, depending on your flavor of hub mount that you pick. Interesting gas dynamics in the Predator. Is it well suited for this task, this monumental task of short-action magnum suppression? In our testing so far, oh yeah. We have tested some things that don't touch this thing on 6.5 PRC. So I feel the gauntlet for that I think 4 Systems is throwing down here is really excellent. What better way to kick things off but with something very strong? You're going to see suppression ratings here that may surprise you. And don't worry, there's a hazard map too, a bolt action hazard map, the first magnum hazard map in history. One concern I have, just a short-term concern, same concern I had with the Ti-RANT 45. Short-term concern here is this might lull people into a false sense of security, and people might think that 6.5 PRC is quiet. On the contrary, This cartridge is loud as heck. And to show you how loud is it, to show you how loud it is and what the combustion does, we did something similar to what we did the 45 thing you just saw. We put unsuppressed data in this report too. You will see that at peak momentum, the combustion is doing something similar to what 7.62 NATO does out of a 14.5 inch SR25 pre-secondary burn. That means that out of a 20-inch barrel, this thing is still pushing. How is it doing that physically? Well, if you look at the case in the photo with today's podcast, you notice how fat it is? Yeah, short action, remember? So you got to make it a little fatter to hold that propellant because you can't go longer. Yeah, we're entering magnum territory now at Pew Science publicly for you, but we're easing into the swimming pool so we can learn the most. And 6.5 is here to test things you otherwise would not be able to test with 308 because 6.5 diameter. The silencers have too small a hole, so 2 birds with 1 stone. If you have a silencer that everyone's like, oh man, this is a 6.5 Creedmoor silencer, it's so good. Cool. Let's see what 6.5 PRC does instead of looking at 308 energy. I think if we did 6.5 Creedmoor, you'd be bored out of your mind. I know I would be. 6.5 Creedmoor is boring. If you're going to do 6.5, use more explosion. The Predator from Force Systems shows something in this report that may shock some of you, actually. Excuse me, sorry. It may shock some of you, what you're going to see in this report from 4. It may shock some of you. It may make some of you smile. Remember why we test in the free field? Do you remember? Do you remember? Because if you look at the timescales of the combustion blowdown, when you see the report in the morning, oh, this is going to be hilarious. Remember when you saw AK data from us and how long it took the action to stop moving? If you ever shot an AK and you hear how loud the action noise is when it moves back and forth and how long it takes for that to happen, okay, just keep with me. What would you say if I told you that on a 6.5 PRC bolt gun test with a silencer, you could have combustion blowdown going on that long? That's just as long as AK action mechanics. Yeah, dude. Try to test that indoors and see how that works out for you. See how good your data is when you want to analyze a complete waveform testing indoors with a 6.5 PRC bolt gun with a silencer. Yeah, you can't do that with most weapon systems even if you tried. Now try it with this one. Yeah, you will not succeed easily. Are you in a football stadium? If so, let me go testing it. This is going to be fun. Long-range hunters rejoice. We shall protect your ears, and we shall find out which silencers do it best. No one is safe, because we're going to start doing this, then we're going to start doing 300 Win Mag. And there's a lot of 30 caliber silencers that people advertise for magnum suppression. We'll see what happens when you put magnum rounds to some of these silencers. Welcome to Pew Science. 0700 Central, go check it out. Slapping new test hosts on the board for the second time in 2 weeks. It's got to be a record. Summer 2026. Be good. Stay safe. I will talk with you folks very soon. Deep dive on 6.5 PRC and the 4 Predator next week. Okay? Go enjoy the report. Share it far and wide, especially with your backcountry hunters. All right.